I thank the gentleman from Flint and appreciate the opportunity that we have to stand on the floor tonight as a bipartisan delegation, Republicans and Democrats, who are joined together by a love of a great state, the greatest state, pure Michigan, but the history that is there that includes a gentleman, a leader like John Dingell. This is a vision that too often is not seen by constituents back in the district, isn't it? They often think that if you're a Republican or a Democrat, you're automatically an antagonist for the other side. That's just not true. And especially as we work together as a delegation. I learned one thing of many things, but one thing I will share tonight from John D. Dingell, Jr. I'll let that rest a little bit and let it build what in the world I'm going to say I learned specifically from John Dingell that was unique and special and important to me, and I hope I never forget. It was in 1983 that I first met John Dingell. I was a freshman in the State House of Representatives, and I was in Adrian, Michigan, the county seat of the House district I represented. And we were there for ribbon cutting, and I heard a commotion going on through the room. And the commotion was simply this: Big John Dingell is about here. He's about to arrive. Well, I'd never met Big John Dingell or John Dingell at all. And like you, Dan, I knew it was a historic moment. And sure enough, soon he came in. He swept into the room. And I met a man who, yes, indeed, was 6'4", strong of appearance and presence. He commanded a presence in the room, and yet he shook every single hand in the room, including this freshman member of the state legislature, who he'd never met, maybe even never heard my name. And yet there was a warmth about that. I learned something from that. But then over the years, seeing him in operation, and then ultimately coming here in 2007, my first term, and having a chance to go up and sit where he always sat, right over there, and sit and talk with him, and initially very timid, legislative questions, but then we got down to important things like, what's your favorite shotgun? What's your favorite hunting sports? Who indeed fitted your shotgun to you? And then as we began to talk about things later on, when it became apparent that with redistricting, I was going to lose Calhoun County in the district, and I was going to pick up Monroe County, which was John Dingell's county, which had been his father's before him. And I was going to be given an opportunity to represent that county as part of the 7th District of Michigan. I remember asking John about Monroe County, and he talked about the marshlands. He talked about the fact that if I were going to come into that, he expected me to feel the same way about waterfowling and about protecting the resources there and making sure that the wildlife refuge continued to grow and expand and meet the needs of coming generations. We talked about that, and we shared those things together. Then I found out about the River Raisin Battlefield National Park, where a significant war, a loss to the United States, it took place there at the River Raisin, but it ultimately became the rallying cry that ultimately, I believe, led to the winning of the War of 1812, remember the Raisin. And so this became part of my district, but it became part sharing with John Dingell. And I remember this is what I learned, Dan, that I'll never forget. And I hope none of us forget it, because it's the way of life that I think leads to a valued life of service. Because I had the chance of serving with his son, Chris, in the state legislature. That was a Dingell who served, and then went on to be a circuit court judge. I had the privilege now of serving with Debbie Dingell, our great friend and colleague who we all have expressed our love to in these last few days, even more than before. But to serve with John Dingell. And I said to him, Congressman, he said, no, John. I said, I'm going to be getting, I believe, if the election goes as I think, I'm going to get Monroe County. That's been your county for many years. You've loved it. You've loved all about it. I'm giving up Calhoun County. How are you going to deal with that, giving away Monroe County? And he said this to me. This is what I'll never forget. He says, my young friend, I never give away a friend. I never give away a friend. He said, you know, it's going to be your district. It's going to be your county. But I will never give away my friends in Monroe County. And he said, you should never give away Calhoun County either. Marvelous advice. And I think it would be good for all of us to remember that in our relationships, not only with our districts, and districts that may change, but our relationships with our colleagues, Democrat, Republican, Independent, delightful, ornery, whatever. These are friends. And the way we respond to them is the same way John Dingell responded in such a way that he had a life that made an impact. And remember, he served almost 60 years, 59 years and 21 days. Historic. Not because he chose that, but his constituents chose that. And they made it possible for him to serve those years. They chose not to term limit him, but to say thank you for representing us well. And so, Dan, my friend, thank you for the opportunity to do this tonight. For a great man, a human, but a great man who loved this country, who served this country, and I'm not going to give away as a friend. I yield back.